career, has her husband ever made a stock purchase or sale based on information he received from him?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, that's House Speaker Nancy Pelosi denying her husband ever bought or sold stocks using information that she knew. This as the push to ban congressional stock trading remains stalled. Hillary Vaughn of Fox Business is live on Capitol Hill with more for us this morning. Good morning, Hillary.
Good morning, Julie. Well, the Senate is set to vote on a bill that would give $52 billion in subsidies to the U.S. chip-making industry. That would be a big win for them, but it could also be a big win for Speaker Pelosi's husband, Paul, who made a $1 million investment in the chip industry last month. If this bill passes and the president signs it, it could make Mr. Pelosi a lot of money. Paul Pelosi disclosed a $1 million stock purchase of a major chip maker, NVIDIA, in June. The timing of that stock buy before this legislation gets passed is getting some backlash. So now some lawmakers are pushing to finally vote on a bill that's been introduced for months that would ban members of Congress and their spouses from trading stocks while in office due to conflicts of interest. There's even bipartisan support from unlikely places like Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Senator Josh Hawley, who both support the idea, but still that bill is sitting stalled in the House.
One person that controls the whole House can determine what bill comes out of committee, what bill comes to the floor, is the Speaker of the House. And Paul Pelosi and Nancy Pelosi made $5 million the last time this happened.
Speaker Pelosi's spokesperson told me last week that the speaker does not own any stocks personally, and she also has no prior knowledge or involvement in any transactions. But some lawmakers say whether or not she is making these trades or knows about them is not the point. She still stands to profit from what her husband is buying and selling. And since he made this big bet, Julie, NVIDIA's stock has risen by 10%. So he potentially off this deal could have already made over $500,000. Julie?
Wow, that's pretty much it right there. But I think we finally agree with Lambda Man, who said that this is definitely an issue, I think, said with capitalism. And he said, right?
I don't disagree.
Right? And magically Pelosi is now a millionaire. So I think we could agree with somebody that's maybe not our same ideology. Right. This is trickery, like cronyism.
Right. And we will agree a lot.
The free market's amazing, isn't it?
Oh yeah, you know, when they ask her, she called her capitalism. But if you remember back in, what was it, 06, 07, when they were getting ready to pass all those credit card law, that they made $30 million off of a Visa. And she's like, whoa, my husband magically, like, you know, her husband has like 100% like rating beating the S&P 500. Like that dude, you follow his trade, you'll be a millionaire. So all of a sudden he's like the smartest guy out there. You know, he bought Google. He bought Google. He bought Google right before they did the stock split. He bought Microsoft right before. Who was it that Microsoft bought? Microsoft was buying someone. He magically bought Microsoft right before that. You know, now they're coming about the chip maker. So all his trade magically happened before all this new regulation. And yeah, nothing really, you know, when they ask her, she's like, yeah, I don't talk to my husband about that. We don't talk about that. Like, you know, he makes the whole move. Like,
right.
Yeah, okay.
Case, so, man, two things real quick. Go ahead, number one is every one of those guys is doing this. Everybody in this getting rich off stuff they know. So it doesn't matter what side of the island you're on. It's corrupt and it's nasty and it's disgusting. Again, going back to the beginning of this, get the money out of it, right? Number one. Number two, Lambda Man. All right, Lambda Man. Cases ain't my show, but if you want to bring Lambda Man on, I'd be interested, right? To talk. Because I agree, and I know who Lambda Man is, by the way, and I agree with some of the things he says. And there's I know on a lot of stuff, I get it. But what I'm saying is, we miss the opportunity to know what we really agree on, right? There's things that we both agree on. And we'll never get through it unless we just come and bombard ourselves with the rhetoric and the polarity and all that other crap. Come on, let's have a conversation. I'll have a conversation with you. When you get 10 hat, you know, maybe I'll check out. But I'm saying, for the most part, you'll be surprised what we might agree on. You'd be surprised.
Lambda Man, I know who he is too. And if you want to come on, we know the channels that you can discuss. And it doesn't have to be for the whole show, maybe 5 minutes. Next week, though, we're at the end of the show right now. But much love to you, Lambda Man. And also, I just want to say real quick about this video was that in the tweet, somebody said, I'm glad they're at least covering it. I think Aaliyah said that, right? And in the tweet, they said, because I tweet out these clips all the time, and somebody's like, "Man, you clipping a lot of Fox News today." And somebody tweeted, "Well, these are the only people covering Democratic corruption." And I retweeted it because that's my sentiment. Unfortunately, I would love to clip MSNBC talking about Nancy Pelosi or Paul Pelosi's corruption. I would love to clip CNN talking about this corruption, but the only people talking about it is on Fox News. So I'm going to get it where I can get it. Right. And then the video, the last thing I'm going to say is, John, what you talked about, I have another video that from Fox, of course, and it hits exactly what you said. It went through the timeline of the Microsoft buy and some other ones.
Some options he put down on Tesla. Yeah. This was December of 2020. So you can make the case the information was out there. Biden was pushing for green energy.
And they, by the way, the Democrats controlled the House and the Senate. So
right, and the election was over that time, too. Here's the NVIDIA deal that Hillary just mentioned. Purchase options, 1 to 5 million. You have the Competes Act, the CHIPS Act. It's still floating around Congress. If it passes, you're giving this industry more than $50 billion, okay?
Timing was pretty good.
Here's the thing that kind of riddles me a little bit. Microsoft, 2 to 10 million. What I did not realize is that the U.S. military, the Pentagon, was negotiating with Microsoft at the time, and then later, a couple months later, they announced a contract.
They announced the contract.
That's kind of the dealio. Go ahead.
But you don't know. Listen, I have to go back and check that. But I bet there were stories about this out there, and he's in Silicon Valley.
Out there meaning it could have been in the Wall Street Journal.
It could have been on the internet, and that's how a lot of these guys. The legislative stuff is much harder to prove than the other stuff, because obviously a company keeps its earnings reports very sacrosanct. Legislation is always bouncing around. That's why Richard Burr of North Carolina essentially did not get charged by the Justice Department for trading stocks after he received a pandemic briefing.
Because it's not illegal.
Well, no.
These lawmakers have always been asked.
It was illegal if he had inside information, but people were talking about the pandemic way before it happened, right? I mean, Donald Trump was pressed on it at Davos in January. He can easily say, and which is what he did, hey, I got this from the internet. I saw it on Fox Business, a real debate about the pandemic and whether you have to lock down. So I got scared and I sold. So remember, this legislative stuff is difficult. Now, the real question is, do we stop the sleaze? I mean, they clearly have an information edge. There's no doubt. I mean, tell me Nancy Pelosi is not speaking about some of this stuff with Paul
Here's a Twitter account I'll share next week that follows all of Pelosi trades, and you get to see how they've done over years. I've never seen one that they lose money. They're they make all these option call, 300,000 option call. The stock goes up, they cash in $10 million, and it's I never seen someone get rich so quickly. That
the crystal ball that they have is amazing.
Yeah, right? But I never talked to I never talked to my wife about that. Me and my wife,
we don't talk about all the money we got.
We don't talk about any of the new regulations that are coming up.